In Unit 12, Section 4, our last section of Unit 12, we're talking about independent and dependent events. Still talking about probability, just talking about special kinds. So independent events are events where the occurrence of one event does not affect the other. Dependent events are when the occurrence of one event does affect the other. So let's look at some examples and just identify what is independent and what's not. So the directions say to tell whether the events are independent or dependent. Number one says you roll a 5 on a number cube, then you roll a 6. These are independent events. Rolling a 5 on a number cube the first time, and then rolling a 6 the second time, one does not affect the other. For number 2, it says you randomly draw a marble from a bag, and without putting the first marble back, you randomly draw another marble. These are dependent events. Because if you don't put the marble back in, you're changing the total number of marbles and you're changing the number of marbles that are that certain color. So pretty straightforward. So now we're going to look at finding the probability of independent events. You'll notice when we get to dependent that the formula is exactly the same. You just have to take into account whether it's independent or dependent. So for both of them, you're just going to multiply the two probabilities together. So it says you roll a number cube 2 times. Again, if we're rolling a number cube, it's going to be independent. One roll doesn't affect the other. The first event is that you roll an odd number. Okay, so rolling an odd number, there's 3 odd numbers out of 6 total numbers. Event B says that you roll a 4 on the second roll. So again, they don't affect each other. There's 1 4 out of 6 total. Then I can multiply these together. 3 times 1 is 3. 6 times 6 is 36. And then I can simplify that to 112. So again, independent events, find the first probability, find the second one, and then just multiply them together. Now on the back side, we're looking at finding the probability of dependent events. Like I told you a little while ago, the formula is still the same. You're still multiplying the two probabilities together. It's just the second probability is going to be affected by the first one. So it says you are beginning a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle that is in the shape of a rectangle. You randomly choose a piece from the box. Okay, so it says you pick a corner piece. There's 4 corners on a puzzle out of 1,000 total pieces. So you pick one corner. The second event is that you pick another corner piece. What that means is the first corner piece that you picked is now out of the choices. So you only have 3 corner pieces left, and there's only 999 total pieces left. So I'm going to simplify these before I multiply. So that's going to be 1 over 250 times 1 over 333. I'm going to multiply this together. I get 1 over 83,250. Again, the formula for independent and dependent is exactly the same. It's just when it's dependent, the second probability is going to look a little different. All right, so it says tell whether the events are independent or dependent, then find the probability of A and B happening. So it says in a box of 10 parts, 3 of the parts are defective. You randomly choose a part, then you randomly draw a second part without replacing the first part. So this without replacing is the big thing. Find the probability that both parts are defective. Because we're not replacing it, we know that it's dependent because the number of parts is going down and the number of defective parts are going down. So it says find the probability that both parts are defective. So for our the first time we take one out, there's 3 defective parts out of 10 total. Now, if we don't put it back, that means there's only 9 total parts, and there's only 2 defective ones that we're trying to get another one. So now we can go ahead and multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. 10 times 9 is 90. Then we can simplify that to 1 over 15. Again, that was a dependent event because it says we're not replacing that part. A cereal company says that 10% of all their boxes of cereal contain a prize. You buy 2 boxes of cereal, find the probability that both boxes contain a prize. These are independent events because it's still 10% of the boxes regardless. So we're doing 10% on the first box times 10% on the second. To multiply percents, I need to turn them into decimals. So I'm going to do 0.1 times 0.1, which gives me 0.01, which would just be 1%. So there's a 1% chance that both of them are going to have a prize. And then if you look at the last page, there's some review problems for here. You're simplifying expressions. Okay, remember, they need to be they have to have they have to be common terms to put them together. So do those, show those along with the rest of your notes to your teacher before you take the Unit 12 Section 4 check-in.